This question is actually from a female, life path number 7. And what they're saying is wholeness are the main strengths of a 7. What are the main strengths for a 7 to build on? I'm over 40, interested in many things, but can't follow through with only one thing. Just not passionate enough, it seems. Also a bit detached from the physical world. Always have been a big dreamer, thinker, but struggle with manifesting due to lack of passion. I exercise frequently to just get me going, but especially in the past 10 plus years, I feel like just taking each moment at a time. Do what I feel like doing without planning ahead. I force myself to get up from on a 9 to 5 job and would like to get out of it, but need to find something to build on independently. What would be a good approach? Thank you for all that you do. Wholeness and balance. Thank you also for, again, sending this message and, of course, trusting us with such careful things as your life. I will go ahead and let the Keymakers take this question. I will add only with this because I have quite a few 7s around me, and I really get the 7 thing for multiple reasons. But I do also see that as being 40, because I'm looking at a younger 7 all the time, and I'm seeing the level of attention span. First of all, the amount of creativity and the amount of intelligence. So I'll just say that I see 7s as they are so intelligent and smart, and they have this excitement to want to get into something. And then when they get into it, they figure it out so fast. Now it's not exciting to them. It kind of defeats the whole 7 modus to stick with something and stay on it. And so they have a tendency to go and find what is going to be the next thing for me that's going to bring me that same joy and happiness. It's almost like a fix again. And obviously, let's say getting older in life, you're going to have less of those because maybe in your earlier times, you've actually experienced many things. And so it's hard, especially in these times, to find something that will ultimately meet the highest high again of what your previous experience was. Now, of course, I'm going to let a 7 jump in here and elaborate on this even further. However, what I would say, though, is that as me watching 7s and realizing where their power and their strength comes in, because they talked about, how the 7 is, of course, running headless a bit. It's really also about really finding the thing that gives you your foundation and gives you your ground, i.e. your head. That's kind of ironic that it's situated that way. And what I mean by that is definitely seeing how there's these techniques, no matter what a person is like, because this could be, let's say, someone that is ADHD or someone who gets bored really easy, or any of those criteria all meet someone who's impatient, someone who, so there's so many people that actually experience similar to the same things of not being able to focus, someone who has a lot of ideas, doesn't know which one to manifest. And the answers generally are the same about the meditation and why the meditation becomes so important to gain the ability to slow things down. And then 2, your uniqueness. We can't say it enough. The reason why you'll move on to something else will be still that even though you mastered it or perfected it enough for you to feel the joy of it and then move on, there are, there are certain things that definitely require that. Well, they'll actually call to you. I found that instruments seem to be another thing for 7s, and a world that they may not even be experiencing that is so akin to how they work, because they can, because it is a predominantly a spiritual path, even though they come into that later on, but they can use that ability, and that ability is the same ability to know how to listen to music, to be able to play music without really even reading notes, and to be able to work with tones very easy. So those are my suggestions, just again, from having a 7 in my space, or a few 7s in my space, and what I've observed from them in their consistent growth.
Wholeness, I just wanted to jump in quickly from the perspective of an economist. And economics is generally a study of scarcity, right? Of the things that are scarce in the environment or in the market. But our uniqueness is abundant. And when we think about allocating resources to create the space that may be needed, I'm not sure if this person knows their uniqueness or knows what they want to do, but maybe just needs some time to put some things in place, or maybe needs the time to figure out, what that thing is, what path they want to take. There are things you can do to allocate resources in your life to create that space. For example, I've had clients that they're working a job and they're paying their car note and they're paying for their mortgage or rent, but there was a property in the family that they had access to that it was completely unencumbered, but they didn't want to live there, or they preferred where they were. But to give themselves the space, the time, there are decisions that could be made when you take account of all the resources that are available to you in your life. And so I'm a firm believer that what we need or what we're looking for, it's already here. So I would encourage anyone, thinking about how to make this shift, to just begin by taking an accounting of what's here, really. I mean, what's here? I might not like to drive that car, but that might give me, a bump in my income, or my regular income, that I could invest in something else, that I could allocate to something else to move toward a broader goal of creating, an income flow or an expression, a level of sovereignty around your daily affairs. So
I like that. I like that a lot. I believe that I was just thinking of the statement, knowing your uniqueness and knowing that your uniqueness is two different things, right? Because you could be doing something that is really your thing, but you could have this mind that's saying, but I really want to do, and this could be taking energy away from you perfecting what it is what you're doing. And I really like what you're saying, Gail, about realizing that still on an economic level, a lot of this has to do with how much capital you have at disposal to continuously grow your uniqueness. Because maybe you need certain tools, maybe you need to get a website, maybe you need to do something that's going to equate to you pumping more capital back into it. And this means starting to analyze some of the other things that are sucking up a lot of the financial current that will give you the ability to do that, and then reanalyzing how you can offset that for a while in order to get to a greater plateau if you feel like you're stuck. Is that what we're talking about?
Absolutely. And not from a perspective even of contracting or creating tension, like, of lack, not from that perspective, but just a reallocation of resources. It's like the 80-20 rule, where oftentimes you have 80% of your return or your income coming from 20% of your effort. And if you just adjust what you're doing to put more effort or more, invest more in that area, you'll get a bigger return. It'll balance out on the long term. So I'm not a believer in lack, consciousness or that kind of concept, but just in being smart about allocating the resources that we do have available to us, because from a perspective that everything's there, that everything's there.
So, there's a couple of points here, but being a 7 myself, one of the points that Savon made, that you need a head, like you need a 4, which is funny, because I work with Savon, he's a 4. But and then also I'm a 4, I'm a destiny 4. So working with myself, I see that need. So the other thing is meaning that there's certain energies that are around you that helps you, and so you sort of have to figure that out, and then also get rid of the ones that don't. That's important. And so and the main thing is focus. This is one of the things, like once you transverse a certain age. So at the beginning of your life, you because of the strong spirituality, and then not really grasping it and feeling the bodiless part of you, which is funny. Like a K2 will feel headless, even though they're all head. And it's the reverse, but because you the K2 will feel it, even though because your whole body is spiritual. So what happens, you actually embody the other signs that you're in. So if in it's Mars, like let's say if your K2 happen to be in the house of Mars, you'll feel that energy. If if it's Capricorn, you'll feel that energy. So that's why you need to focus. And and you can do anything. So in terms of like in terms of what talent, what job, whatever it is that you're doing, you're excellent at. And that's also that thing where it's like, I can do anything, I can figure anything out. So as soon as I figure it out, and boom, now I'm on to the next thing. So this understanding about yourself, that, it's not about what you do. It doesn't matter what you do, you're going to be successful at it. And so that's one of the things I had to learn for myself, in that it wasn't literally about that my title, my job title. It was about, do I enjoy it? And so because of the spirituality part, if you're not in a position where you feel spiritually fulfilled, especially as you get to your later age, you're not gonna feel at home. You're gonna feel the more restlessness. So this is why you need to focus, and even focus on your spirituality, and if you're here asking questions, you are. And so, in terms of like, there's also even a balance that needs to happen, because you're both materialistic, because you're a worrier. You're going to worry about your future, about everything, because we overthink. For somebody being body, you're also a great thinker, and at analyzing things. So anything that you put your hand into, you figure it out so fast. Like, I mean, I literally, and Neva and I talk about this all the time, I don't sleep. Last night I was so frustrated because I could not sleep more than like 3 hours. And that's because my mind is constantly going. So your meditation is vital. To be, and so last night it was basically me meditating like the whole night, just trying to focus. And then I would find myself, once I fell back asleep, I basically lucid dream all the time. So that dream that I need is, I'm finding it harder and harder, especially in these times when we are really getting spiritually awakened. So it's important, to focus into like, what is it that you're doing, your own spirituality. At 40, I had so many awakenings. Like, every aspect to me, like what happened when I was focusing on my physical life and the quote unquote matrix life, every aspect of it broke down. It was just like, you're a spiritual being. So this spiritual awakening, I see within sevens and within even the fours as well, is very, very strong. So you need to be like, that focus into it. Also understand like the materialistic part of yourself. And it's the type of path that's asking you to be the everything, to understand the everything, and you can do it. And that's that I feel is great about this specific path, because now you really understand that spirituality is what we are. Like the spiritual being is what we are. So, like my main thing that I've been doing as I am also in my 40s is to understand that, yes, I can do everything, because I do a lot of different things, but also focus so that I can be successful. Because in your earlier years, because you tried so many things, you'll find a lot of failures, but these failures were things that you learned from. So there was not really failures. They were just your learning yourself. And even business, you'll be great at business as well if it's something that you can focus on. Wholeness.
Wow, that was a powerful answer. So I ain't got much to say after that, but I want to add that with me being a life path 7, I've been seeing a lot lately, like, okay, BU 7 everywhere. And so what that means though, for me and many 7s as well, is, what helps is telling your story. You're a great storyteller. When you feel like, I don't know if I should do this or do that, I feel stagnant, you have to remember that you can do everything, because you go through many experiences that many people do not, especially spiritually and just on the planet. You being a wise being, you're going to go through many experiences that other people do not. And you have to remember not to be burned by those experiences. Like that's one of the mantras of the 7, is that I'm more than my pain, and that I can overcome my pain. So remember, something to help with that, if you're feeling stagnant, or you're just feeling like you can't move around, or you just feel a little complacent, is lighten up a bit, look at some comedy or something. Sevens, I mean, like, laugh a little, you know what I mean? Because when you're in that spiritual realm, things can be very serious, you know, because you see things a little different. Things can be very serious, but just lighten up a bit, you know, as a seven. You know, that's the joy and the beauty of it. And like Sister Deyes was saying, meditation is very important. So I just wanted to add that. Give it thanks.
Wholeness, I just wanted to say just for a quick second, I know that we're experiencing some issues on the other side with the connection. I'm positive. However, we're working on our end to see how we can troubleshoot it, but our recordings are still live here. We're also clear on Zoom. So this means that we will have a recording that is clear of everything that is said today. So if you're on the other side, because we still have enough questions actually at this point to cover the entire conversation for today. But if you're on the other side, I know actually it's clear right now because I'm looking at the stream health. But you didn't catch what was going on before. Remember, we're just going to upload a clean copy after this, but we're going to keep going because our connection is still strong enough here in the studio for us to actually see and hear each other. So we know that you're experiencing some connection issues out there. However, we're going to keep going with it because we have a live recording and that will be perfect anyway. So go ahead and continue, brother. Wholeness.
Thank you, brother. It sounds like this brother here or this sister, I believe brothers, going into his heart space, and having kind of gone through that transition in terms of changing careers and not knowing what you want to do, but trying a bunch of different things. There was some very practical tools that I applied. You know, you're in a really great position, and if you're employed with everything that's going on, you're able now to use that resource that you have and start to use this time that you can carve out, your sacred time, to really start to see how you can realign and reposition yourself down the course that you want to take. And, you know, there's no rush in that, right? But within doing that, there's some fundamental things, like if you're not sure about what you really like to do, you know, a lot of your past is like signposts all over about what you've done. You know, so you get a big bit of paper out, you write down like all of your jobs, all of the things that you've liked doing, all of your experiences that come to mind, and then start to color code them, the ones that are the same. Okay, these are green. This is about physical. This is about, you know, spirituality. This is about, you know, reading, or this is about working with children. Like whatever it is, you'll start to see that there's common themes. And then once you start to see those common themes, you can start to really get really granular at what maybe the more common ones are, or the ones that really speak to you. Now, at the end of that exercise, you can go and clump them all together and be like, I want to do a combination of all of these things. And you can do that. I was able to do that. But you have to be really refined about how you go about and do that in terms of being pragmatic in your business sense, in going into a niche or going into an offering, like pouring your heart and soul into something that aligns with you and gets your fire going, you know. And the other aspect of like working on your body, like that's a really powerful thing. When you're energized and you've got the energy pumping through the body, you feel a lot more vital, you know. And that could just be switching up your exercise routines, like just being disciplined enough to give yourself that 15-minute, 45-minute in the morning to get going for the rest of the day, and then use that energy after that creative, potent energy, to really start to put your 15 minutes or your hour into your project, whatever that is. So it's just about, as the team said, like reallocating your time. And then also, as you've kind of map out what you like to do, start to map out like what is your highest experience of bliss, like what really brings you bliss in life. And then around that, you'll have obstacles around that. You know, if you kind of your bliss emotions are in the middle, on the outside, you'll have all these obstacles. But when you know what those obstacles are, you can overcome those obstacles. So it's a bit of a twofold thing, working into what you're called to within your heart, and then being pragmatic enough to start to make an entry point into that. And if you're not sure how long to do it for, stick at it for 3 months and then reassess. Wholeness.
Wholeness. I see everybody want to get on this first question. Yeah. Okay, the show's over, everyone. Like, man, that was I think that answered all the questions for today. Is there any other insights on this as we keep moving through today?
I will add on to the marvelous build that everyone has been given about number sevens and the, so artistic and spiritual. And that I think to add on to what Alistair was saying about the practice, sort of honing in on your expertise. I think that sevens can do well. I think sevens and fours particularly, we all have to be careful about the friends that are around us, right? And the things that we are connecting ourselves to. And as sevens that naturally, are social beings that love to connect, I think that is, an important thing to keep in mind, right? Is to remember what you're around and what your influences are. And then I think a nice practice, if you really have a space where you can get into your heart space and vulnerability and have a trusted friend there, is to, have them also say, here's what I think my gift is. Do you believe this? Is this what I bring to you? It's a nice practice to have some safe space around you where you can have someone to bounce off the ideas. And then just feeding into what some other people have said, each week, it's great. We have the opportunity to tell our stories. I mean, we do it in about 15 seconds or so when we're introducing ourselves. But I do think this is a wonderful practice. You are the one who tells your story. So it can change every day and every moment to moment. So that's a wonderful exercise too, is just to get into, who am I today? What story am I telling today? And if you don't like it, change it. Absolutely. Wholeness.
Wholeness.